Welcome to Expat Equation, the podcast where we explore the human side of working abroad.
And we're your hosts. I'm Julian Johns.
And I'm Bianca Cenan. We're both expats and inclusion professionals, and through our work at Candidate Aid and Culture Flow, we help companies and international professionals grow together.
In each episode, we talk to people shaping the global workforce, internationals navigating their careers abroad, and the business leaders creating space for them.
Today's guest is Patricia Varela. Together, we'll explore the approach to hiring and supporting internationals in Norway, Sweden, and Spain, what inclusion looks like for different companies, and the lessons they've learned along the way.
So if you're in HR, leadership, or just care about building better workplaces, this episode is for you.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, follow us and share it with a colleague who's shaping their team.
Let's dive in.
Patricia, please share a bit about your background, your journey into HR, and how working across cultures has shaped your perspective.
So that's a podcast on its own. I'm a Latin parent, born in Sweden. At a very young age, I didn't feel Swedish enough to stay in Sweden, so I moved to Montevideo, studied there with help of the Swedish study CSN system, like Skattetaten. So I lived there for 6 years, then I moved to Spain, lived there for another 7 years, and then I ended up in Oslo. So I've been a bit around, mostly Spanish-speaking countries, and my professional roles has changed. Market dependent, age dependent. I also did a couple bachelors that I never utilized that much. Came to Oslo, studied psychology, tidying everything together a bit. I was a portrait photographer at the time, and I noticed that my strength as a photographer was making them forget the camera in a way. So when I started psychology, I was looking for a place maybe to utilize that skill of mine, just breeding comfort in uncomfortable situations maybe. Entered the recruitment business and then understood that it was everything that I was good at, just naturally. Establishing conversations, having good dialogue, understanding how people tick, but also making people feel very comfortable in their own skin in a way during those conversations to really be able to assess if the match is the correct match for both parties. And I'm good at standing with one feet at candidate experience and being a bit of a shield and a sparring partner and an honest conversation around what to expect and not to expect in the Norwegian labor market, but also standing on the side of the companies and being able to see differences that are not that easy to spot and could lead to either better outcome than expected or maybe issues down the way in the hiring process or after they're on board. So I'm good at switching and being a bit of a chameleon in the role of hiring manager.
And how long have you been doing recruitment in Norway for then?
4 years, more or less, at this point. But previous to that, I helped a Swedish company start a hotel in Mallorca, because I lived there for a season. Helped them with everything from paperwork, renovation of the hotel, but also the hiring of the whole staff. This skill I bring with me is more than 4 years, but I've actually utilized that skill first in avant-garde search for 4 years. I also had a child in between, so it's been a bit of a maternity leave and then back on track now.
You have a lot of experience, so if you could pick just one that you think shaped or changed the way you think about inclusion, what that would be?
That's a personal one, not necessarily a work one. Because I have this double identity, Swedish-Latin, and I can choose and shapeshift because I don't look necessarily physically from anywhere, has given me the chance of putting maybe the face on that I need for the moment, right? So I worked as a bartender in Barcelona, a really upscaled Michelin star hotel, and I work in the lobby as a bartender, right? And I would be treated as I speak Spanish with a very clear Latin American accent from Uruguay. Clearly, it identified from Uruguay. And I would be treated as this Latin, hungry person that came to Spain during the economic crisis in 2000. And I would be like, oh yeah, Latino. And then immediately I would either run with that and do the Latin thing that they expected of me in a way and play with it. Or I would more and more go towards, okay, so what do you think about my country? Oh, you came here, you must be really lucky. Or I would be treated like this person that needed them, right? That was lesser than them and that also upscaled a lot of money, Catalonia, in a way. So I would be treated as you must be grateful to be working in this hotel here in Barcelona, right? And then the moment I actually told me, well, I don't know, my country is advanced in many things, and we're like an example when it comes to social security systems, and I would speak about Sweden, and there would be puzzle, right? How my answers didn't connect with the Uruguayan part that they expected of me. And then a bit mid-conversation, I would go like, no, because I'm from Sweden. My parents are from Uruguay. That's why I speak this way. And they would shift. And it's amazing how it would be the same bartender with the same uniform and the same setting. And being from Sweden, you must think we are savages, right? So like the same person. And I did this experiment, and that confirmed to me biases. It confirmed to me also how we can play with them and utilize them for our best in different moments, and how I can bring forward the part of me that in that social setting is the most accepting one. Personally, people in my life tease me because they go like, oh, you're Uruguayan when you want to and you're Swedish when you want to. And I go, yeah, just like I can shapeshift and land the best in front of you, right?
Having experienced those nuances personally, how the perception of you changes according to, Uruguayan or Swedish, because there is a challenge there about perception, also about belonging and fit. When did you first become aware that was a problem for Norwegian companies or Swedish companies?
Growing up in Sweden, I always knew this was an issue. This is talked about, the expat community, the immigrant community. We talk about being the outsider and having to pose ourselves in a certain way to be accepted, right? So this is nothing new for me. It was new for me to be a professional in the area of having these conversations. And the ironic part that in Sweden I'm perceived as an immigrant because I speak Swedish, but my name is Patricia Varela. But in Norway, because I speak perfect Swedish without an accent, I'm Swedish. No matter my name, because I am not Norwegian, I'm not one of them, I'm one of the other, and the other for them is a Swedish part of me. So, and I enter a room here, I'm Swedish, so I'm one of the Scandinavians in people and not immigrant out people, right? So in that setting of conversations, I think vulnerability and honesty have come a long way. I have to actually pinpoint this and go like, hey, can it be that you're talking from a base of a bias? Could it be that you have this experience with a person from this nation, but this nation is so many million people? Can we set up like an instance in this recruitment process that allows you to meet this person and actually dig in deeper and honestly around these cultural fit issues, right? I think the person wants the job and is happy to have this unspoken rules spoken about in a more open setting. So I think that has been maybe what I can add to the table because I am both. And I can move around as an immigrant or as a Scandinavian.
It's a very unique set of experiences, actually. Yeah. So that lens, because a lot of people, I think, miss that in recruiting. So, Patricia, what is your particular approach to hiring international talent? What works and what still needs to work? And it'd be great if you could look at both sides of that equation, not just from the candidate side, but also the companies.
Well, I think the company wants to hire in the right people. No matter, I mean, we all start from them. It doesn't matter where they come from. We just want the right skills, right? And further down the process, when actually meeting real people, that's when the biases set in. It's not on the writing table. I don't see it's like a by design thing. It's more than we in the meeting with people. And I am so acutely aware that I can be a chameleon because I look a certain way, right? But I also am acutely aware that if I hire a person from Africa with very dark skin, or I hire a person that has a veil, or they're like physically things that cannot be changed or hidden. It's not just an accent. It's the whole identity of the human being talks about a different origin, right? It can't be pretended away in a way. And the candidate can't ignore the fact that this is part of their identity. So I think that because it's not from design and it happens in the meeting of people, I think my role as a recruiter is to make it possible to have these conversations open and honestly, and not just swap it to the corner as a cultural fit thing. So I can push it a bit and go, well, is it because this person speaks in an accent? But do you understand the person and what they want to say? What is the language you're actually going to work in? Is the Norwegian skill more of a cultural integration? And, you know, when we go for dinners and parties and meeting in the hallways and around the coffee machine meetings, though, is it that moment that you need a Norwegian to set in? Isn't the work, I do a lot of tech recruitment, isn't the work mostly in English anyways? I can point out maybe and make the sensation people have in the body that this might not be a fit because this is different than me. More in paper and in words. Okay, so what is it that you feel is so different that it wouldn't be a match? And sometimes the honest answers that come up are have validity. They're clear. We feel, there's a personality match and not necessarily a cultural match. And sometimes in those conversations, you reach the conclusion that, okay, let's meet this candidate one more time. And I have a couple of success stories when they didn't want to go further with a candidate because they didn't believe the candidate understood the horizontal leadership of Scandinavia and wanted maybe more hierarchic, being told, do what you've been told kind of model. I talked with the candidate very honestly and go, hey, this is a cultural thing. I need to talk to you. Don't be offended. Like, please take this from a loving place, right? And also, as an immigrant myself, I can do this maybe in an easier way. And he was like, no, thank you for putting that out. I just wanted to be polite with them in their meeting. And he was like, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, from India in a way. And was very eager to please in a first meeting and respectful in a first meeting with a company he wanted to work for and admired. And in the Scandinavian side, I was perceived as a person that would not maybe challenge enough, not come with their own ideas, and not maybe challenge in an early startup growth journey. And it was quite the opposite. It was leaving his company because he wanted to have a space for challenge and open conversations. We set up a physical meeting, which was much more about just having a coffee and talking. And when I pushed the candidate to go, like, don't do the polite thing. And I also pushed the company to give this candidate another chance. And he finally got the job. And for what I know, he's still there and happy. But it's not always that way. You can push sometimes and you don't get the results. And candidate can also be very sensitive around the subject because it's so tied up to their livelihood, their sense of self, their belonging. It's a sensitive subject to go into. You have to touch it lightly. But I think the only way forward is actually to talk about it with the sensitivity that it needs.
Thank you.
Norway. But have you felt the same pushback in Sweden or Spain, for example?
Yes. In Sweden, I just did one role, but the same pushback. In Spain, I was recruiting within a sector that deals with a lot of newcomers because it's a hotel and restaurant sector. But I did feel I had to push. I remember this Argentinian guy that was going to be, he was hungry for a job and the guy had a kid and, he was like, I'll do anything, I'll learn whatever I need to learn. And I really took a liking to him as a person. So I had to push the Swedish leadership at that time in the hotel to hire him as a fixing everything kind of guy, right? He would change bulbs and fix it's a small hotel, so he would take a very broad role. And they were like, yeah, but he doesn't have formal education. And I was like, he's from Argentina. This guy, he's a survivor. He ties knots with nothing. He's like MacGyver. Like this, don't worry about it. He'll figure it out. And I had this clear sensation that he wouldn't back down or, I don't know how to do this and just be told, right? He would figure it out. I don't know how many times the Swedish leadership would be like, oh, this guy, he never says no. He was like, yeah, on it. And he fixes it. And he's fantastic. He's such a easygoing, nice kind of guy, charismatic. And they were over the moon from in the beginning feeling that needed someone that had maybe worked in a big hotel in a similar role. They were over the moon that he will actually not be tied on to formalities in the same way and be like, just do the job, right?
It's interesting that you've mentioned two examples where by championing someone, you helped the hiring parties, the hiring companies, take a different look at what they would have normally rejected, and reevaluate the decisions they were thinking or the decision criteria they had when they said no, which is really, that takes a lot of effort, and to do that on a per candidate basis is a struggle.
The flip side of that is I can't go into a recruitment process going I'm going to get an international in here, right? Yeah. If the international appears and is the right match, and I have this feeling that I could put a little bit of oil in the machinery to take away a bit of the gravel that's there in the cultural conversations, right? I will do so. But I also have to be able to step back and go, okay, you gave me your answers. We had the conversation. It's done. That's so far I can push it. But it's always like a balanced dance, right? I have these two examples, but I also have many examples where the conversation didn't, lead to that. And it just maybe led to more friction and more confirming of biases. And that's clearly showing that they don't want it and they don't want to push this conversation forward.
So from your experience, what are the most common mistakes that companies are making when they are working with internationals? Did you get any insight or do you have any suggestions on how they could improve the integration of internationals?
And here, no, because even if I keep in touch with some, I just know, I mean, once the hiring process is over, my active role is a bit over. That's why I'm looking to tilt my career more into in-house hiring position and also being part of the onboarding and follow-up, because I think there's a lot I can do in that first phase and also offboarding in that last phase. So I think that's a skill that I want to grow towards more in my professional career. A heartbeat or I guess instinct of mine would be that we sometimes skip the conversation and stay in our head on how we believe this person that's not Norwegian wants to be treated, or how we believe, the needs of this person, and we tiptoe around trying to cater to that without actually asking. And sometimes just we're so Scandinavians, and I put myself now as a Scandinavian, right? We are so scared of the conflict in a way. We're so afraid of being uncomfortable in social settings that we avoid that discomfort. And avoiding discomfort when it comes to these type of conversations means, okay, how can I ask without asking? Or how can I find out what the person needs without having to have that goddamn conversation, right? And having those open conversations without assuming offense in every corner, I think is just a better way to go in general.
Essentially, we're adults. It's almost as if we forget that somehow, that you're hiring adults into a company of adults, and being an adult requires you to have open, honest conversations. But it's sometimes hard to do that because we're not necessarily used to doing that. Yeah. And I love how you just said, just have those conversations, don't tiptoe around, because neither party will be offended.
And it's better to have them and then go, sorry, did I say it wrong?
Exactly.
Than not having said it at all. It's better to go, was I blunt? I think it's like a practice to have these conversations, right? Like everything with inclusion, not only cultural or religious or international, every inclusion is the same. Like, don't tiptoe around it, but you have to start small and have to, I think, be ready to go, okay, cut me some slack. I'm not used to this type of things, but I want to try a new aim. I want to have this conversation with you. Let me know if you feel creepy about it, right? And just throw yourself into it. And then maybe it's better to take a step back. Like, did I say something that wasn't okay? And be ready to be also instructed from the other side. And you would be surprised how many times people go, oh, such a fresh, like it was such a fresh air to have a conversation that is not necessarily so limited or boxed
rigid.
in. Yeah, rigid.
There's and people like taking care of other people. Yeah, like genuinely.
Like for me to be able to cater to your needs, I need you to help me understand how. So for me to be able to give you the best, give me a little bit of you. So I think in that space is when magic happens. And I think because we're adults, we get rigid and we don't want to lose face and we don't want to laugh at ourselves. And we just, in professional setting, the wording is so important. Like, don't make a mistake. Yeah. And so we all become maybe less human than we should be.
Yeah, I like that.
You also pointed something related to the boundaries. And I think that's a very important topic we should also consider when integrating people into a team, not necessarily internationals, but also to learn how to respect each other's boundaries and not put those boundaries behind our biases, which are maybe related to, as you said, this person is from this country or it's from this religion.
It's interesting you say that on our previous podcast. Paul mentioned that the Norwegian working culture is very efficient. They come into work, they do their job and they leave. And that sense of efficiency, without all the hugging, etc., that sometimes people think is necessary, it makes you realise that actually from a productivity perspective, actually Norwegian workplace culture is one of the most productive in all of Northern Europe. But to your point, not every company needs to be this family. It's just stability is what people are looking for. Great job, great environment.
And also maybe explain it. Yeah. Hey, don't take it personally. Yeah. I just come in, I do my job, I have my private life, my friends, I have my kids. I just want to get done and go home. Like, maybe it's better to actually have those open conversations also. Don't take it personally that I don't want to chit-chat. It's not that I don't care about your life. It's just that in this setting, I need to focus. But we can have lunch together and you can tell me all about it. Right now, I just want to have a coffee from this coffee machine, go back, but in my head, it's like I'm busy, right? And
cool. Quick fire round, shall we?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So this is a quick fire, which means that we ask quick questions, but you also have to give us quick answers.
Woo!
Yeah.
All right?
This is when I stumble. And
This is why it's hard. We don't do these things because they're easy.
Yeah.
But okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll do the first one. And the first question is, what's the first thing you do when you're onboarding a new hire to your team?
Say hi. Welcome.
Yeah.
And you don't be embarrassed for whatever. We all been there. We all been there. We all been new and afraid and don't want to make a mistake. Just come to me and we'll figure it out.
Great.
One culture you've learned a lot from?
The Latin American culture. They tie human relationships around the heart more than the activity. Scandinavians, we do things together. We ski together, we climb together, we dance together. But if we don't do those things together, we don't meet. And then Latin American countries, also Spain, they tie it around more of a heart issue. We can be different, listen to different music, do different things, but still enjoy each other's company. And I learned a lot from that. Yeah.
Awesome.
In person or remote, and why?
Both. Balance. I like both. I need to be in the company, breathe the air, be part of the things, the energy, but not every day. Sometimes I also need to be in my own head a bit. And also, as a busy mom of two, sometimes I need to do laundry while I'm having the meeting and hang that while I'm talking on the phone to make my life a bit easier. So both.
One leadership advice you live by?
Be vulnerable. If you are vulnerable and you show that you don't have all the answers all the time, because nobody has, you also allow people that work with you horizontally, vertically, up and down, to be vulnerable around you. So being vulnerable doesn't mean being unprofessional or don't knowing what you're doing. If you're CEO, you probably know what you're doing. But being vulnerable is also going like, hey, is there any way I can do this better? And open up for those honest conversations and actually tilt and change and evolve with those conversations.
Last one.
Yeah.
End of day ritual. Is it a hot drink, cold drink, digital detox, a strong drink, a run?
Digital detox, I wish. I'm like the TV on and scrolling. Cold, hot, none of them.
What is the end of day ritual?
Oh,
Hugging your kids.
yeah, I'm putting them to bed and I'm crawling out. Like, I don't know how I survive from their bed to mine sometimes. Right now, I'm renovating an apartment. This is the reason my nails today look not so well done. So put the kids to bed, put the podcast on, and do whatever thing is on the list. If it's painting a frame or putting up a shelf or whatever, it's on the list of things to do. So that's what I do right now.
Great, thank you.
Wine with information, I don't know.
So Patricia, if you could give an advice to someone that is maybe leading a multinational team or multicultural team for the first time, what kind of advice would you give them?
To talk with both sides of the international, because to be international, you also have to have nationals. So talk with both sides of the equation and maybe not make it to avoid discomfort, maybe not make it about today's workplace. What do you want to see today? We can talk about previous experiences. What happened in the last workplace that you liked, particularly in this issue, or didn't like? And how would you take that experience into this company? Then it doesn't make it about how wrong or good we're doing things here and now, but we give some distance. But also like the expat community. What happened in the last job that you really liked, and what happened, those things that happened that you didn't like, and how can we work to it? And sometimes things happen that you don't really like that I cannot change. And then it's better to go, thank you for sharing that. I empathize with you, but we're going to do this way. Can we work around it? Can we not work around it? And be honest. Not everything needs to be catered to. Again, we're adults. We have a job. We're here to do a job. So sometimes it's suck it up. This is the way we're going to do things. But I think having the right tone in that conversation and making it talked about is just better than just feeling that you're being pushed into this corner in a box that you don't really understand and nobody explained to you.
What for you means building a workplace that's inclusive? And I think you're certainly talking about these challenges as one thing, but are there other things that help to create inclusion and enable or encourage inclusion more?
If it's a big company, having an HR department that is very skilled, been trained, understands, had, maybe took off the training wheels in these type of conversations helps a lot. Because when you're doing the planning of the event, you do need to think about non-alcoholic options, or you do need to think about who picks up in Bonahag or not, or if you have a person in a wheelchair, can we have so many dumb mistakes of just booking a restaurant and then that person needs to be carried up with a wheelchair because it's 2 steps, right? Just by having a team that is like, okay, let's go through this one more time. What do we need to cater to so we don't have to put people in uncomfortable situations? So I think good trained and agile HR department.
And if you could redesign a hiring process with internationals in mind, what would you change, or where would you start?
Oh, wow. It's so role dependent, though, the hiring process. Okay, the unspoken rule, right? If I write this advert in Norwegian, it's unspoken that I'm looking for someone that speaks Norwegian. Or if I write it in English, it's completely understandable for everybody that this is going to be a position that's international and English speaking. And that's not always the case when it comes down to it. So it's better to be clear about it. We want someone who speaks Norwegian in that. And so then you avoid having 300 people applying that don't speak Norwegian because you've been clear about it. If I would change anything, it would be to start with a really good and in-depth dialogue about expectations, about cultural fit, about all these things before we drag in candidates. Because when we drag in candidates that then get rejected because of cultural fit, it's so easy to avoid by actually having these conversations before we drag in candidates into the process.
So that was Patricia giving us a behind-the-scenes look at what it really takes to make inclusive global workplaces.
We hope you're leaving this episode with a new idea, a fresh perspective, or maybe a little inspiration to try something different.
If you're an international professional looking for support, or a company wanting to improve how you hire and support global talent,
you'll find links to candidate aid and culture flow in the show notes. We'd love to support your journey.
Don't forget to subscribe and share this with someone working in HR or living the international experience.
This is Expat Equation, powered by Candidate Aid and Culture Flow.
See you next time.
See you next time.